Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of the Film Ignite podcast. For all things film and all things TV, this is the place to be. Today, we're discussing David Fincher's 2010 film that many say defined the decade, The Social Network. I had heard a lot about The Social Network over the past few years. I'd seen various clips and scenes online without any real context. I'd wanted to see this movie for a while until I finally decided to sit down and watch it, start to finish. I just have to say that this movie surprised me. This movie is fantastic. With most movies based on a true story that are telling the story of a famous person and going through the major events in their lives, there's usually a very formulaic feel to them. David Fincher took the story of Mark Zuckerberg creating Facebook and turned it into something I have never seen before. I have never seen a film of this nature filmed in such a way that is so emotionally captivating. From the opening scene, without any hesitation, the dialogue begins, and it sucks you in. Not gonna lie, I was shocked when the movie first started because the dialogue is going back and forth so fast, it's nearly impossible to keep up. The movie starts right off the bat, making sure you are prepared for the fast-paced ride you are about to go on. It really sets the tone for the rest of the film. This film is fast, it is always moving, and that is one thing I was so surprised about. David Fincher took a story that could have been told in a much more uninteresting or boring way and amped up on the filmmaking aspects. The decision to show the beginning of Facebook and the creation of it all, interconnected with Eduardo suing Mark, also interconnected with the Winklevoss twins suing Mark, sets up these three interconnecting pieces to cut back and forth between a lot of the time within the scene itself. One of the best examples is when Sean Parker first meets with Mark and Eduardo, and it cuts between Eduardo explaining what's going on to the lawyers, then showing what's happening at the dinner table. Moments like these are what help keep the movie fresh and fast. I've never been this engrossed in a drama film about a topic I already know about. Facebook is a Goliath of the internet and has immensely shaped how humans interact in the world today. And this movie doesn't go quite to the depths of showing how Facebook impacts regular people's lives, but rather it shows the behind the scenes of the people that had to suffer for it to exist. This movie has one of the best taglines I've ever read. You don't get to 500 million friends without making a few enemies. It's such a genius line and truly encapsulates what this movie really is all about. What sacrifices are going to be made to achieve greatness, and to what lengths will people go? Mark Zuckerberg isn't your average person. He's awkward and shy, but very stubborn, stern, and hardworking. And that is portrayed brilliantly by Jesse Eisenberg. The mannerisms he displays in this role are fantastic. I don't really like him in many other movies, but the casting here is more than perfect. He looks exactly like Mark, talks and even sounds like him as well. He has this presence about him that you know exactly the type of person he is before he even speaks a word. Mark's personality is what led him to suffer the downfalls he did because of his inability to understand basic human emotions. At times it feels like Mark is the computer, with how difficult it is for him to understand what he did had real effects on people, rather than just getting there first or being the smartest. He truly did steal that idea from the Winklevoss twins. Whether or not every single aspect of this movie is factually correct, I'm not sure. I'm sure some liberties were taken to enhance the emotion and drama of the film, but I honestly think knowing the story of Facebook already and knowing what it has become in the modern day gives this movie an entirely different tone than it would have had 11 years ago. Yes, I think the movie portrays Mark in a negative light, but with all the things we've seen Facebook do over the past 11 years, imagine what this movie could have looked like if it was made now. Fincher truly knows how to create a compelling story and keep me engaged the entire time. There were so many great moments here. I was thinking, this is just incredible directing. The montage at the start of the film where Mark is creating the website to rate girls on, and we see the entire process through a montage, and then all the students using the website. Then there's all the instances of switching from the lawsuit to the creation of Facebook, just showing the sheer destruction Mark caused to his only friend. The scene where Mark and Eduardo are arguing in Mark's house in California is impeccably directed, and not to mention the final big blow between Mark and Eduardo in the Facebook office. Not only is Fincher's direction on point here, but it is all held together by Aaron Sorkin's masterpiece of a script. Every word, every line, every action is purposeful, has a meaning, and hits hard. There's no time for wasted dialogue in this film, and I love it. A good drama has to rely on a story that you care about, characters you care about, and dialogue to stitch them all together. And Sorkin does just that. Not only is Sorkin's script fantastic, but every single actor in this movie blew me away. I had heard that the performances were good, but I did not expect them to be this great. Like I said before, Jesse Eisenberg is fantastic, but I have to give props to who I think is the best actor in this movie, Andrew Garfield. I've seen this version of Jesse Eisenberg before. It essentially feels like he's playing a modified version of himself, and that's okay, and he does it very well. But I've seen it before. Andrew Garfield playing Eduardo was such a surprise in how well he acted this role, because so much of it comes from the subtleness. From the very start of the movie, you can see how he views and treats Mark, like a kid almost, like he's teaching him how to act normal and stuff. He clearly knows Mark is a social outcast and kind of a loser who has trouble with girls, but he's still his friend anyway. And as the film progresses, you get the descent into the betrayal of the friendship, taking his name further and further away from the idea. Then, Sean Parker comes into the mix, and Eduardo is sidelined entirely. Garfield gives such a great performance in the subtle moments where you can see his character starting to lose it, and he's breaking down. He's angry, sad, and tired, yet working so hard to achieve his goals with Facebook. There is something so captivating about watching someone in this position. Same goes with Armie Hammer. I didn't actually know this when watching the movie, but it really blew my mind afterwards that Armie Hammer played both of the Winklevoss twins in the movie, if you can believe it. I'm still not sure how they pulled it off. I totally did not recognize it at all, so props to them for pulling it off. Watching their ideas stripped from their hands and watching them struggle internally, not knowing how to go about solving it, then finally going to the president of the university. And let me tell you, that scene is one of the most frustrating movie scenes I've ever seen. Hearing them plead that their idea was stolen and something needs to be done, and hearing "too bad, so sad" response from the president was infuriating. And it's not like the twins were horrible people. They didn't deserve this to happen to them either. And Armie Hammer does such a good job of conveying that emotion of being so frustrated and pleading for help, but there's nothing that can be done. It makes you truly see Mark as the villain of this film. Like I said before, Andrew Garfield brings such a great performance due to the subtleties earlier in the film. But at the end, he finally reaches his breaking point after all the hardships he went through. He lets loose in one of the best scenes in the movie and delivers one of the best lines I've ever heard.
You better lawyer up, asshole, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
The delivery is just perfect, and moments like these are obviously exaggerated for the sake of emotion in the movie, but that is also what makes this movie great. Without knowing the story of Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg, this movie still works as a drama about a guy who created something so great and so powerful that when that creation started growing and growing, it altered the lives of all those close to him. It is a story of greed, power, and betrayal, and that is the genius of moments like this that make it feel like not a Mark Zuckerberg movie anymore, but a true film and a story worth telling. The story of Mark Zuckerberg leads itself into the themes of greed and betrayal, and Fincher was able to showcase the main story of Facebook while keeping those emotional ties buried within the surface. That's what keeps this movie from being just another biopic, but something so much bigger. Justin Timberlake is also in this movie as Sean Parker, and he is also fantastic. He is such a hateable douchebag and plays the role so well. He is the one representing the money, the fame, the fortune, and luring in Mark to disregard the life he had before. Move to California with the big house, sunny beaches, and lots of women. And in turn, Mark turns his back on the only true friend he ever had. Another fantastic aspect of this movie is the soundtrack. Besides the opening scene and the final scene, the entire movie is an original score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. There was something so unique about the sound and style of this soundtrack. Had you just listened to the track list, you'd think it would be the soundtrack for some sort of thriller movie, maybe a crime or mystery film, but it all oddly works so well for this movie. It is an intense and thrilling score that carries the film along with it, giving it life and energy at every opportunity. It's one of those instances where I think without the soundtrack accompanying the film, I don't think I would have liked it that much. It sounds strange that one of the strongest aspects of a film about Facebook is its soundtrack, but it truly does add so much to the film. Another great moment I loved in this film is the ending. The final scene of Mark Zuckerberg slowly refreshing the page on the girl he went out with in the beginning is such a pitiful and somewhat depressing look at the final moments of the film, seeing all the destruction that was caused, all the money, all the fame, all the fortune, losing his best friend, and in the end, he was still seemed like the loser that he was in the beginning. It's a really great ending, and I think works so well to just show the overall message of what comes with greed. Overall, The Social Network took me by complete surprise. I was enthralled in the entire narrative, and I was never bored once. Knowing the story of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg definitely enhanced the experience and made some moments stand out much more. On its own, it is still a fascinating story with stellar direction, impeccable dialogue, superb acting, and to top it all off, a soundtrack that fills every scene with energy. I can definitely see how this movie could define the 2010s in an era of the internet coming into a new form and people doing whatever they can to get ahead in this crazy world of backstabbers and liars. Because in the end, all we want is more money. Those are my thoughts on The Social Network. The Film Ignite podcast is meant to ignite discussion on all things film and TV, so I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on The Social Network? Let me know. As always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you all in the next episode.